Hey everybody, it's Tanner again with Adulting Life Skills. I'm not doing a house practice today, surprisingly. Today I'm sitting in my home office wanting to go over some basic budgeting tips with you guys. More specifically, budgeting regarding your grocery and food. What I like to use for a basic grocery budget is what's called the 10% rule. This is really easy to figure out. Essentially what you're going to do is take your total household income. Let's go ahead and just take an average person, say they're making $40,000 a year, which would equate to take home about $700 per week after taxes. So $700 per week, say, is your total household weekly income. You will take that and times it by 10% to get $70. Super easy math right there. So $70 would be your total household budget for groceries. Now, obviously, for a single person household, that $70 will stretch a lot farther than a multifamily household with that same budget. But that's going to come later on in the video when I'm going to give you guys a few tips to make that budget stretch farther and farther. The first thing I want to do, though, is I actually want to break this number down even farther, just for a visual. Now, $70 per week. Now, the average person obviously eats 3 meals a day. So 3 meals a day times 7 days a week is 21 meals. So we'll go ahead and take that 70 and we will divide it by 21 meals, which equals $3.33 per meal. Now, obviously, the reason I like to have that number in mind, and I always like to keep that number as a visual, is especially when you're driving through that line at Starbucks to grab your venti iced mocha latte, or stopping at Chick-fil-A for that delicious nugget meal. $5 here, $10 there. When you make that a habit, that is what really can blow a food and grocery budget. Obviously splurging every once in a while, especially if you do have the discretionary funds. But I'm assuming if you are watching this video, you are trying to budget consciously, and keeping that per meal number in mind is really, really going to help you mentally to stick to your budget. Alrighty, so here are some tips to make that budget stretch farther. Tip number 1 is a very simple one: buy items in bulk. Now you're probably saying, Tanner, that's a no-brainer. Buying items in bulk obviously makes them cheaper. I like to take that a step farther, though, and I like to say buy your non-perishables in bulk. Your bath tissue, your paper towels, your hand soap, things like that. Now, a lot of people will go and they will buy, when meat is on sale, they'll buy it and put it in a deep freezer and then use it at a later time. The reason I personally don't like to do that, especially if you have a deep freezer, is if you're buying multiple quantities of these things, and things can get lost in the shuffle, and 6 months later you can dig at the bottom of your deep freezer, find something you bought a year ago, and it be freezer burnt, and then you just waste that money for no reason. So buying your non-perishables in bulk is always a good idea, especially if you have the storage capability in your house to do so. Number 2 is going to be stop buying those sugary sodas. Now, I'm not one to sit here and tell you how to live your life, but buying multiple quantities of soda really adds up to your grocery budget, especially if you drink multiple a day and you have multiple people in your household that also drink multiple a day. Now, a good alternative to that, I know it does take a little bit of time, but brewing your own sweet tea at home. The good thing about doing something like that, it's going to cost a fraction of the amount to actually do that yourself, and then you can actually control the sugar content that you are putting in your sweet tea, and it's still giving you that nice fix that a nice sugary soda will. Tip number 3 is look at the unit price of anything and everything that you are buying. Now, if you go to most grocery stores, on the shelf there will be a little tag that shows the price. But right below that, you'll see an actual unit item price, like price per ounce or price per item that are in each package. Now, obviously, if you're buying things that have multiple brands, like say you're looking at rice, looking at multiple brands of rice, can't figure out which one to choose, look at the price of each one, but also below it, make sure you're looking at it might be price per ounce, and obviously find the one that's most budget friendly for you. Just because one might be cheaper on the shelf, maybe it doesn't have as much in it. Always look for that unit price that's below the actual price of the item itself. Tip number 4, limit the amount of frozen pre-made meals that you purchase. Now, I'm not saying completely eliminate these from your grocery trips, because trust me, I understand some days you just want to come home, dump something into a skillet, and 5 minutes later, dinner be ready. But when most of your grocery budget is spent on items like this, you're going to blow that budget really, really quickly. And the reason for that is these manufacturers that are making these frozen pre-made meals, they're adding, because since they're doing the heavy lifting in the back end, they're adding that cost to you, the consumer. So if most of your budget is going to those items, you're not going to have a budget at all, actually. What I like, the rule I like to use is 25% of my weekly budget can go to items like that, but the other 75% that I spend should be homemade, meals that'll make my budget stretch farther and farther. Which brings me to tip number 5, eat vegan. Not all the time, but sometimes. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. That's not what I'm here for. But we had recently started adding some vegan options to our weekly meal rotation. We're probably eating vegan 3 to 4 meals a week. And not only is it making us feel better, but it is actually making our budget stretch farther and farther, because meat actually is one of the most expensive items that we buy at the grocery store. I hope these tips help you guys. Make sure, like and subscribe, Adulting Life Skills, for more life hacks, how-tos, and fun recipes. We'll see you soon. Thanks.